Hi, everybody. This is a bit of a tester because I've not done one of these before, but we've decided at the Sustainable Fashion Collective that we really want to dive into some more topics and answer some more of your questions. So, one of the questions that I had through this week, which I think was really interesting because we get it a lot, is which is better, organic fabric or organic cotton or bamboo? And the answer is unfortunately not that straightforward, as most of you will know if you have ever looked for ethical fabrics before. Um, so, like anything, fabrics can be made very unsustainably and unethically. So, the issues around bamboo are generally that it's a great fiber because it grows very quickly. It doesn't erode the soil where it's grown, and in order to regrow it, you don't need to take out any of the roots, which is kind of contradictory or in contrast to cotton, which is very water thirsty, which bamboo isn't. And it also needs to be harvested in quite an unsustainable way. You have to kind of cut it back and take out the roots, which causes a lot of soil erosion. And in order to grow it, you have to use a lot of pesticides, fertilizers, herbicides, things like that, which you don't with bamboo. So, in those ways, that is kind of primarily what the issues and the positives are. But of course, there are caveats with that. So, in terms of bamboo, the negatives around bamboo are that it needs a lot of chemicals and processing in order to break down what is essentially a very hard, solid fiber to make it into a fabric. But there are various companies who do that sustainably. So you might be able to find a fabric supplier that has what they call the closed loop system, whereby all of the chemicals that they use stay within the system that they use to manufacture all the fibers instead of flushing it into the waste streams, things like that. So, and similarly, in terms of organic cotton, organic is much better than conventional cotton because it's grown without the use of herbicides and fertilizers and pesticides. That's already great. But it's still very water hungry, which is where you can also find things like rain-fed fabrics, not rain-fed fabrics, rain-fed organic cotton fiber. So it's not sucking up lots of the kind of water that it needs to grow it. They're not adding anything additional. It's actually very natural, and they're just using their natural resource to grow that fiber. And similarly, one of the biggest kind of negatives around cotton is the social element of it. So the fact that it's grown in an unfair trade way. So there's lots of slave labor surrounding that industry, and also people just not being paid enough for their work. So if you can find a fabric, an organic cotton textile that is also fair trade, that's a really great option as well. So I guess the thing that I kind of wanted to just add is that, ethical fabrics, as I said, are very, very complicated. And that's actually why we set up the Sustainable Fashion Collective in the first place, because we needed to get some clarity around it. And there are a lot of people who I've noticed on social media that kind of maybe have overheard something about a fiber, and it's a very generic blanket statement, and you can't apply blanket statements to every single producer because, organic cotton historically does use a lot of water. But as I said, there are people out there who don't use a lot of water to grow it. So you have to be really careful with what you say about certain things. And it's really important to kind of look more at the source of the fiber. So once you've found something that you really like, make sure you're going back and understanding how that fiber is being harvested and also who the producers are. So, as I said, ultimately, the pros of one fabric will outweigh the cons of another, but vice versa, you might find that actually the cons of that same fabric will outweigh, the pros of the other one. So, there is no perfect fabric, and I think some people get so disheartened with finding that best fiber that works for your design and your ethos and your business. It's really challenging. So My advice is to decide what fiber resonates the best with you. So, whether that's to do with your design, or it's to do with your business or your ethics, I would suggest starting with that fiber and working backwards. So, looking at the suppliers and the raw materials in depth, which will really it's just a way of managing your time and keeping you focused. So, if the options for you are bamboo, there are plenty of sustainably grown varieties out there, and people that work with closed loop systems, and also people that take into consideration their footprint. So, and also their social impact as well. So, who it is that's working in those companies and the businesses that are manufacturing the fibers. Similarly, if you need an organic cotton, there are lots of really great organizations out there who are producing really in a really as sustainably as possible. So, and there are also fair trade options as well. But, you may find that if you're open to other fibers, you might find that linen or hemp or ramie or Tencel or lyocell are really, really good alternatives. So, this is why it can sometimes feel really, really overwhelming. So, as I said, what I would advise is to tick as many of those environmental and social boxes as you can, and try not to beat yourself up about it. So the fact that you're already choosing a more sustainable fiber, which is either, if you're only looking at organic cotton or bamboo, that is already a really big step in the right direction than choosing a conventional cotton, for example, which is so environmentally damaging using, and also socially very damaging, using kind of cottons that have no um, beneficial impact at all. So, really just make those small steps and add to those steps as you go. Otherwise, you will probably find that you're just going round and round in circles and you will never start. So I think those are my top tips for making those decisions. And I hope that's clarified a few things. If you want any more details on some of the fabric suppliers that we would recommend, please do head to the sustainablefashioncollective.com. Once you are a professional member on there, you have access to all of our suppliers. So we talk about different suppliers, and we also interview a lot of suppliers, and we have a really lovely conversation with a cotton farmer, cotton grower, who works in a very sustainable way, and he actually talks through what makes his fabrics so responsible. So I'll put a quick link to that under here as well. But yeah, any other questions, ping them through and I will try and answer them next week. Thanks so much, guys.